Okay, so chapter 16 mainly deals with all these UI controls or user interface controls. And if you look at this one here, all of these are under the control, control class, right? So controls are mainly just controls or these objects here. So the labeled, if you look at this one here, there's a labeled class with a D and a label class. Okay, so it's a little bit different. So the labeled class is the parent class of all these subclasses, which is button, checkboxes, and toggle radio buttons, because they have some really common features to go with them. So that's what they grouped under this labeled class. Then you have the scroll bar, the slider, and then you have the text input control here for your text field and your text area box. The list view and the combo boxes are their own separate classes, but all these are under the control class. Okay, so we're going to go over each of these. Well, not all of them, but the most commonly used ones. We know buttons, right? We use that. We use text field. We use label, right? And some of the examples you might have already used checkboxes. If not, we'll do that today. And so if you look at this, and we'll build this one here in class together. So I want to make sure we are able to build something like this using different types of layouts. And then also we'll apply the event for each of these buttons here. So when you click on the red button, this text should be changed to red, and green and blue, and vice versa, and so on. And when you click on the left and right button, then this is really similar to your example in the 15.9 that you moved your objects left and right at that many X positions. Okay, and then we'll put the bold and the italic as well apply to this same text box here. This text here. Okay, and then the text area is just like a text area. It's like a comment box. I'll just show you different types of UI here. The combo box is this blue box right here. It's a drop-down box, really. That's all it is. And then we have the list view, is a list of items, and these are clickable. You can select a single at a time, or you can set it so they can set multiple items as well. And then so those are pretty common. Scroll bar is just right here. You have the vertical and the horizontal scroll bars. Okay, you can control each of these components here. So you have these are the left button, the right button here, and you have the minimum and maximum value, and then the track will be where that position is, and this thumb or this button here. Okay, and the slider is kind of similar to this scroll bar up there, except you have a slider, so you slide it, and once you let go of the slider, whatever the button is located or landed, then that will be the value based on the minimum and the maximum value you set. Again, this can be vertical or horizontal as well. And this is useful for many reasons. I'm pretty sure you can understand, like for volumes or the speed of animation and the size of a certain object and so on, right? So these are sliders. And these are some ways of how you would want to prefix your objects. Again, there's no general rules, just convention. So in my preference, I will use the 3 character prefixes here for my labels and buttons and so on. And the book uses just sometimes 2 or 3. It depends how he used. But again, you can have your own convention. Doesn't really matter. The reason why we use this is because when you see that prefix, you know exactly what that object is, right? It's a button, it's a checkbox, or it's a radio button, or something like that. Whereas if you don't put any of those there, then just some common variables to store some type of data. Okay, so build your own convention, or you can follow this one here. All right, and then down here, button is the most popular one. So button is the most popular, I would say, control in all applications, and also the text, because this one here is the one that has all the triggers, a lot of types of events attached to it. Okay, so the button is again here a subclass of the button-based class. Okay, so we have the checkbox and toggle buttons. These three types are very common in nature, so they're subclasses of the button base class, and then part of the label. So the button can have access to all the button base methods as well as the labeled methods. Of course, all the way up to the chain, right? We know that already. And then the button, as you can see here, you can also add graphics to the button instead of just text. You could add graphics. So here is the black arrow here, and then of course you can style it too, right, with CSS. More examples if you're on Oracle.com site. The label is something we used before. Label is just really just a text to explain or detail a certain field on the form, so it kind of tells users what's going on or what is required in that particular object. It's especially useful for a drop-down box or a text field, right? And also can be used for an output as well. And then label also allows you to do more than just a label. You can also add images to that label as well. So we'll do some of these examples here. For example, you can have a button associated with the label. You can have an image as well associated with the label. And the label here is, for example, is click me. And the second object here is the register now button. You can put this button, attach it to the click me label, and you can set the position either to the right, like it's so here, like here, to the right. You can set it to the bottom, top, or left. Okay, so they can be associated together in one in the label. So it's kind of interesting because the label here, as you will see later, it has two parameters. One is the text for the label, and the second parameter is another control. Right? You can add another pane to the label, which is completely fine. Okay, or you can just add a button or one of the controls to that as well. It's fine. You can have, so here this example will add a pane to the label. So this whole thing here is a pane, and that pane actually has a button inside the pane. So you can see how that can be used inside just the label itself. Okay. Text field, we used that already. Text field just to include a user input. Like for example here, you can have it so that you can allow user to type. You change the size, to change the color, the font type as well. Okay, you can also make it so that it's editable or not, depending on the how you want to use it. Okay, and then we checkboxes. Very common. Checkboxes is just another checkbox that allows you to do set or toggle between on and off, and they're independently they are independent objects, so they are not grouped together. That's the difference between a checkbox and a radio button. Okay, so you can have checkboxes, and you can also associate that with an image as well. Okay, we'll do an example of that. And then we have the radio button. Radio buttons are a part of the toggle button because they are they can be grouped together to form a a group of, I guess, unique actions to allow the user to select only a single action out of those group of buttons. And that's what radio buttons are used for, right? To group together. Let's say you want to select a menu, food menu like pizza, like toppings or colors or something like that. That allows the user to select only one type. Then you will use a radio button. If you want to allow user to select multiple things and together, then you want to use a checkbox, right? So it depends on how you want to design your application. And if you do use the radio button, then you want to use a toggle button to go with that. Toggle button is basically group those radio buttons together into one group. Okay, if you don't group them, then each button is completely unique on its own, and that doesn't work the way you might want it to work. So we'll do an example of that as well. So why don't we go ahead and build this one here. This one here covers the text field, 2 buttons, and we'll put the images in there as well. And then the radio buttons group on the left, and then 2 buttons to the right, and then we'll do some effects. So when you click one of these buttons, something should happen. Okay? So if you look at this one here, what do you think, what type of pane should we use? A grid pane? Any?
Vertical and horizontal boxes.
Okay, well, you can use the, well, I mean, if you look at this overall pane here, right? You use this, well, you can, I mean, you achieve this with grid pane, that's fine. Grid pane will be like, the first column could be a 0, 0. This is second column, a third column, okay? And then you have, oh, this could be 1 row. This second row could be second row, okay? But then inside that first column, you could have a nested group of maybe like an HV, H box. Vertical box, and the same thing here. And then on the bottom, you have a single row, or maybe even like a single row with a single column, big column. You can expand the columns. If not, you just put into the second column here is fine too. Okay, that's completely fine. What's another option you might use? Border pane, right? This would be probably a perfect example for a border pane. Because the border pane, it looks just like this. You have left, right column, center, the bottom, and the top. Okay, so you don't have to use the top. In our example, we'll build a one. We'll use the border pane, and then we'll add something on the top here as well. And then we'll style so that all these actions here will be applied to this effects in here. And then later on, we'll add a video in here as well. How's that for the multimedia? All right, so let's fire up your Eclipse, and let's do this together. Oh, I already have up and running. Okay. So I'm going to add a new project, JavaFX project for chapter 16. If you want to do that, ahead is fine. So, new project, JavaFX project, and we'll call this just chapter 16. You can call it differently, doesn't matter. Yeah, I'll call it chapter 16 UI. And then we are now ready to go into our application. And let's see, I'm gonna go in and then inside the SRC and the application, I'll just use a default here, it's fine. But I'm gonna copy over some of the images from the chapter 14. I think chapter 14 has an image folder, this one here. So if you have the image in chapter 14, wherever you had that image before, just click that image and then just do a right click and copy. Okay, or just do a Control C is fine. Copy that folder and then into the SRC of the chapter 16 UI, you paste it in there. So we get a copy of those images. Just don't drag. If you drag, I think you gotta move everything over, so that might cause some issues with your other applications. So just do a copy and paste in here. And so now we have a copy of the images folder. And the image, if you expand this image, you should see all the other items in there. Okay, so we'll copy it. We're gonna need those image files for the example that we're gonna use. Okay, so in the main application, the main.java, we're going ahead and we can leave, well, yeah, leave these as is fine. We're gonna go and then expand between the border pane, which is already created for us, which is great. So we just use the border pane for this. That's completely fine. The scene is, we will accept that is as well. So the rest can be the same. We can just leave that as is. We'll just put some space between the border pane and the scene. This is we're going to add your other stuff, right? We're going to add the left column, content, right column, center, and so on. So what should we do? What should we build first? If you look at this diagram again, what do we need? How would you tackle this problem? So this middle box here, it just contains a text field. So we could call this just a text, right, with JavaFX programming. So in here we can have, you can put some comments here. So we have this is the center box. Okay. Maybe we should put each of those into a some type of pane. So the left pane, center pane, top pane, and we'll do with the top pane later, and then the right pane and so on. So the center pane, we want to use maybe just for now we use a stack pane. If you remember a stack pane, it's just a regular pane, but if you add objects to it, then they stack on top of each other. So for this one, we just have the text field. So use the stack pane because it's center for us already. So that's something that's good. So I'm going to call this is the center pane. So new stack pane. Okay. So we want to import the stack pane. So mouse over that and then select the import stack pane. And then if you want to go up to the import to make it a little bit easier, so all the layout here, if you notice that JavaFX scene layout dot border pane dot stack pane and so on, these are very similar. So you can do is you can actually you know, override this and then just put a star in here. So all the types of layout will be imported automatically, and then we can delete this last line here. Okay, we can delete this last line, and then it will all the pane that we add, hbox, vbox, will be included inside the layout class. Okay, if you don't do it, you just have layout dot border pane, layout dot hbox, layout dot vbox, and they're very similar. So you put a star there, I mean, it grabs everything. Okay. So we got that for the center pane. What about the left pane? The left one, it's a, I guess we'll use a vertical box, right? Perfect for that. So we use a vbox for the left pane. So new vbox, and we can add some spaces in there. We put maybe like a 10 pixel spaces between those objects. So that's our left pane. And then the right pane will be kind of similar. It's also a vbox, I think. And same thing with a 10 pixels wide. I mean spaces between each of those objects. So we have the center, left, right, and then the bottom. The bottom could be just a horizontal box. Okay, hbox. So this is the bottom pane. Some people use footer, right? And again, just put 10 there. So we got all 4 panes: left, right, center, and bottom. So let's do the easy one first. The center pane. So right down here. Well, we got the root, right? So we're going to add to the pane first. So right now we're going to add, just add panes to border pane. We're going to add all these to the pane. And the border is you know, a little bit different from others, right? You don't get children.add, you just say border of the root dot set top, set left, set right. Okay, so we're going to do a root. Root is the border pane member, the border pane. Root dot, we're going to set the top. Well, we don't have top, we just set the left. Left is going to be the left pane, right? We set the left pane to the left, and then we set the center as the center pane. Oops. Then the right, set right to right pane. So as you can see, it makes a lot of sense to name your objects in a very meaningful way, so you can easily you know, put them in the right place. And then finally the bottom pane, set bottom, and then this is the bottom pane. So they're all set up there. And then so now we need to create a text inside the center pane. So the center pane, let's do it down here. So I'm going to put here center pane. We need a text field. So just basically text is the text field. I mean, not a text field, it's just a text. Okay, it's a text object. This is not the same as the text field. This would be different, right? This is a input box, where it says text, it's just text. This could be, we'll call this what? FX text, I guess. JavaFX text is no text. And then inside here we'll put the text name, JavaFX programming, I think. Right? Yeah, JavaFX programming. And then we need to import the text. So mouse over that, and then click the import text for the JavaFX scene.txt. So we set the text to JavaFX programming. And then what else? We need to add that text to the center pane, right? So how do you add that to the center pane?
Center pane dot get children dot add.
Yep. So center pane dot get children. Okay. Dot add. Just one, so we could add. It's always safe to put add all. So later on, if you want to add some more to it, you can just append it to it instead of writing a new line. So this is the FX text. So remember, this is a center pane is a it's a stack pane, so it's going to be center right in the center for us. And the height and width of this scene, we can change. I want to make this a little bit wider. Let's just go with like 800 wide, because 400 a little bit too short. And why don't we just run this and see what it looks like for now. See if everything works. Okay, so save and click run, and that's what you should see, right? Nothing there is the center, because you don't see the other pieces here yet. They are there, they're just not visible. No content there yet, but it's right there. And we could change the font size to be a little bit bigger if you want. Right now it's like, I think default size can be, I don't know what the default size is, can be 12 or 14. We can change it so that it's a bit And the font, well, maybe we'll do later. Okay, we can change the size later. Okay, so we got that done. That's all there is to it. The default will be that whatever that size, and the color will be just black. Okay, we can change the color when we click the button on the left. So now, how about the right box? The right one will be easier. Let's go to the right. We have the bold and the italic. These are checkboxes. Okay, so let's do our right here. So we need a checkbox and CHK for checkbox, and this would be like bold and new checkbox, and then we'll put the word bold in here, and this is the text will be displayed right to the right of that checkbox. And then we need to import these checkbox control. So again, mouse over that, scene control, and then if you scroll up to the up here, you see that you have a control checkbox. If you add another one, we say control dot button, control dot whatever it is. So again, if you want to put a star here, then all the control will be imported automatically. Okay, so when you put buttons and text fields, all will be available, so you don't have to do that every time for the import. So we got the checkbox for the bold, and then we need another one for the italic. So just italic, new checkbox, italic. So we get our two buttons there, and then similarly we need to add that to the right pane, right? Otherwise they're not visible. So will be same thing, right pane dot get children dot add all, and then the order is important. Okay, so you put the bold first. You want to put that first.
Someone stole my car?
Was it yours? You're free to go. If you can catch it. You know it's not yours. Okay, so I added both the check bold and the check italic buttons. Save and then run, just to make sure it's there. If it's not there, then something's wrong. So way up there, right? It's kind of tiny up there on the right side. So you can see that we need some kind of padding to set into those, so we have more room in the top and the right as well. But they are functional, as you can see, right? They are both can be toggled on and off. And so let's add some padding to that first. So that's the H box and V box. Yeah, the V box. And so let's see this V box here. Let's go up here. Okay, I'm going to add the right pane dot. It's a set padding, right? And the padding takes an insets value. So every time you see the word, any word in here like insets or padding or border or whatever it is, if it's capitalized, then that is a class, right? So if it's a class, then you have to have the instantiation of that object. So you can't just put some values there. So class means you need the word new and then whatever it is, right? So it just tells you that it's an inset of values. So that means that it needs something like new inset, and then that inset tells you it's a constructor. If you don't know what those are, do control right click and that parentheses, it tells you what it needs. So you have three different type of constructors. You have to so now inside just double, so you can put some values in there, and then you get the top, left, right, bottom, and so on. top, right, bottom, left. So if you just put a single number, applies to all of them. If you want each of the left or right or top and bottom to have a different value, then you want to put different values there. So for now, we just put, let's just say, 10. I didn't take 10. I didn't like 10. Okay, let's put 10, 10, 10. How's that? Well, actually, it does. It does. It should take 10. It's just that we didn't import. Yeah, so we didn't import the insets. So again, mouse over the insets, import. Make sure it's the JavaFX and not the AWT. Okay, JavaFX geometry. So 10 means 10 all around. If you put 2 values, 3 values, it'd be different, but 10 all around. Okay, so just to test, should we have some space around it? So we have a little bit of space here. You can make it a little bit bigger if you want, but I think for now it's fine. Okay, so if you want to apply this same inset to all of them, then you should basically take this out here, right? Take it out, and maybe above here somewhere, right above here, you put like a inset. You know, insets, lowercase, equal to new insets, right? It's a variable name, and then now you can just apply this to all of them, right? And then you do the same with the left pane. Left pane, set, padding, and then just insets. Now they all share the same padding. Bottom as well. Set padding, and then insets. And if you want to change the value to something else, just do one place and then applies everywhere else. Okay, so we get that there. So what else do we need? We need to set the left. So we got the right pane done. Let's do with the left pane. So left pane has a group of radio buttons. Okay, so these should be grouped together in one group. We'll call that group maybe just color group or something like that. And then each of those will be you can only select one of those colors, not all of them, right? If you don't group them, then each of those will be independently grouped, and then they won't work the way you want it. So first, we want to create a group. So the group is called the toggle button. And we want to group this with a group grp, maybe colors. Do so we create that group first, just to make sure that no, okay, it's not button, sorry, not button, it's the group. Should be the toggle group, not the button. It's a group of buttons. So we create that group. So if you have a different group of buttons, you create a second group, and so on. So you have like a, for food or toppings or cheese type or crust, whatever it is. You have multiple groups. So now we can go and create the radio button, just radio button. Will be RAD red, right? And this is new radio button. Put the value red in there, the text field, and then do 2 more for the green and the blue. You can just copy and paste if you want. Again, the shortcut key, if you're using Eclipse, is to you mouse over that, Control Alt, and then down arrow. Okay, mine doesn't work. If I do that, mine will flip the screen. But if you do that on your keyboard, it should give you a copy of that. So I'm going to change this to green. Bottom one is to blue. So green, blue. Okay, so you create all your buttons, and then right down here, you want to add those to your pane. So you do the same thing, right? This would be left pane that get children that add all, and then red, green, and then red, blue. And if you run it now, so here we have the red, green, blue, and so on. But notice that when you click it, they stay clicked.
You have to add them to that
Right.
toggle.
Yeah, because they are not in the group, right? So each of those is independently grouped. So you want to form this into a single group, so that only one can be clicked. So we need to add it into the group. And to do that is you go in here under each of these. Oh, it's a lot of work. Red, set toggle group. Okay, right here. And then the group name, which is GRP colors, right? And then we put the GRP colors in here. You do that for each of these three buttons. Copy and paste. And then changes to the green, and then blue. Okay. Radio buttons work this the same way. Any application you work, you have some type of group. So in this case, it's toggle group, and HTML is just basically you give it a name, and then that name is the ID name will be used inside all those radio buttons, and they'll be in that group already. Okay. So now they are linked into the same group of GRP colors, and so if you run it now, you see that only one of those buttons can be clicked at any time. Okay, at the same group now. And then these two are, the radio buttons are group, and then the checkbox that should be independent. So far so good?
Can I catch up a little bit real quick? Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. If you want to start ahead, you can start adding the bottom buttons. So create two buttons on the bottom, and then add those two buttons to the bottom pane. As soon as Aaron's done, we can start. But you can go ahead if you want to start ahead. How far up? Is it a little bit more? Oh. Got up? Okay. All right, so let's add the bottom panes right down here. So we need two buttons. Okay, and notice they have the arrows here. These are graphics. So we'll also add the graphics to the button as well. So button BTN, this is the left button, new button. Okay. Notice that on the button right here, if you do a control spacebar, you have three options. One with no text, one with the string text, the name of the button, and one has the text and then the node of graphic. Okay, this is where you add graphics to the button. So you can use this third option here. If you use the blink one, then you have to add these two, manually, or their own two separate lines. Okay, let's set text and set graphics, and so on. But if you do it one time, then you can do all at once in a single take here. So let's do that together in just one take. So the first one is just the left, and then the graphics. So how do we add graphics? How do you add an image? New image. Image view. Okay, gotta be the view. Inside the view is the image. Okay, so you can do new image view. Right, only the view can be visible. Inside the view, you can have the image. You can have an image object, or you can just add the image in here. And the image will be inside the image folder. We call it, I think it's just left, right? So so here's left. Yeah, so that one, left, and then there's one for right as well. So we use that one. Okay, if my computer doesn't freeze. Okay, so we use the left .gif, and then we need to import the image view objects under image. Okay, and we do the same for the right button. So I'm going to copy this, paste below it, and we'll change this to button right, and we just call this right. And then we change this to, I think there's a right image as well. And this Pane is the H box, right? It's a horizontal box, so they should be stacked one next to each other. And once those are created, then we need to add it to the bottom pane. So bottom pane dot get children dot add all, and then the btn left, btn right. So add that to the bottom. So we run. Okay, they're not centered. So we want this to be centered. So we can set the alignment for this H box here. So we can go here, and then it doesn't matter where you put it, below, after, doesn't matter. But let's put below here is fine. So bottom pane dot, I think just set alignment, set center, yeah, alignment. Okay, and again it takes a pause is object, right? It's a class value. So you just put pause dot, and you have all these constants. So how do you want this to be? Center left, center right, top center, all these different kinds. Again, the way to know these is just to experiment with them. But I think we just need the center piece. So it's center in the at the list here. So here again, you want to import the geometry for the position. So pause, JavaFX pause. A lot of imports in here. So let's see if it's centered. I hope it does. Run, and then okay, so it's centered. Notice also the example, it has the border around it. We could set the border if you want. The border is just a border. You can use that in CSS to style it. Okay, so in here, let me close. Try to close mine. Let me make sure I close my. Okay. Okay, so we got the bottom. Is everything done? Yeah, it's all done, right?
Borders around that.
Yeah, it's all done. So the border, if you want to do the border, let's just say we start with the left, the right. Let's do with the right here. It's fine. So the right, we can do a right pane dot, and this one here we use the style CSS to style it. Okay, so we could do like set style. If you look at it, it just takes a string. So basically, this is the same as your usual CSS, except you have prepended with the FX keyword or directive. And we want the border to be the border style. Okay, this is, let's just say, we'll take a solid style and put a semicolon here. So we got the border style. Also want to get the border thickness. Border thickness. Oh no, not thickness. I'm sorry. Border width to be, let's just say what I don't know, 5px. We'll figure out if that's big or small. And also we can set the color. So fx border dash color is I think the example is green, so we can use green, is fine. So it's a little bit it looks something like that. Okay. So instead of doing that, right above here, maybe like let's do this. Let's put this into a string. Copy all this here, just Control X, and right above somewhere up here, we'll put a string. We'll call it style, or is equal to that. Okay. And then here, well, maybe just like maybe a little bit more specific. I don't know. You can. It's kind of bad here, but we could put this style in here. Okay, so right pane set style and then the style, which is this style here. Okay, and we use the same for the others. Right. And we can do for the left pane as well. Right pane, what's the left pane? So here, left pane, set style, and then style is style. Use the same style, and we'll also do for the bottom pane, set style, then style. Okay, so I think they all should be green now, and then we don't need about the center one, I guess. We'll see if that is styled correctly. So here we have, I guess, good enough. Okay, you can change the style. Can have the you know, the curve corner, just like CSS, right? Radius, border radius, and then background color, and so on. So are we all good?
Still have to change the font for
above.
No, the center thing, you just have to change the font color of it.
Oh, the font size? Yeah, we're going to change the font size. We'll make it a little bit bigger. But before we do that, here's what I want to do next. So if you look at this one here, this is like a, it's all in the single method called start, which is not really efficient, right? And what we're going to do is this will be really clean here, and we're going to put this into their own method. So we put like set the pane, and then set left, set right, set bottom, and display, and so on, right? So I do this way. On the top of your main method, main class here, I'm going to move these, I should say here, maybe just, a layout, panes or something. Okay? I'm going to move all these into the global space. So all these here, plus the insets, because I'll need them. Okay? You can select them and then copy whatever you do it, where you just click and drag and move up here. So they're now in the global space. Okay. And then the string as well. The string, I'll move that into the global space. So cut that out and put it up here somewhere. That'll be shared among all of them. Okay, so now I want to create 4 methods. One for the left, one for the right, one for the center, one for the bottom. I'm going to move these out into those methods. Okay? So let's do that. We can do it on the bottom here, is fine. So right below here, in the between that and the method here, make sure you're in the the class space. Go to create 4 method. This will be just void of set, we'll just say set left. Okay. Do 2 more, or actually 1 for the set right, set bottom, set center. Set right, and then void set center, and then finally void set bottom. Okay. You can call it setting, call it however you want to call it, show left, show right, show bottom. Okay, I just call mine set left and right. And then all you do is now you copy those codes in here. So the left part, for example, you go up here and we have the left stuff, right? All these here, all of these can be copied. Okay, you can X it out, Control X, cut it, put it inside the left method here. Right? So they're all in the left group. And then here, same thing, the bottom, cut all these bottom pane stuff here, Control X, and then put it inside the bottom method. And just do the same for the other 2. The right pane, for the right, and then the center pane is very short for the center. Even though there's only 2 lines of text, you might think, oh, why should I do it? But I mean, you just want to be consistent, because later on you might modify this to add some stuff to it, right? So put into a method. And so now you can see we took a lot of these things out. Okay. So these actually can be also moved into each of those if you want. So the left pane, the right pane could be put into the right. Where's the right? here. I mean, it doesn't matter which order you put in here. I think this should still be fine. So the right pane goes to the right inset, the left inset goes through the left pane. Let's put the bottom here for now. And then the bottom padding goes to the bottom portion. Okay, so then now they're all like grouped into their own method, and then now you have more control of these different methods. And so now inside my code here looks much cleaner. Only thing is that when I set this pane here, which is fine, we can leave as is. And then the center pane here, we just call set center, call that method, call the set right pane, set right, call the set left. I should call it left pane, right pane, but that's fine. Did not do it right. Set left, set misspelled. And then we have the set bottom. So it's shorter now, cleaner. And once you move everything out into the old methods, you want to run and make sure it still works as before. Okay, so it should still look just like before. Now it's just better control. We have better control of that. So if you want to deal with the left field, left column here, we go into that method and do the code in there, and so on. Any questions on how you set this up? Okay, well, maybe it's a good time to take a break right now, and then we'll come back, and then we'll add in the events to these buttons. How's that? Okay, so we'll take a 10, we'll come back, we'll continue on.